Hi everyone, welcome to week number 5. We are almost done, we did it. This is my developmental interview assignment. Just a quick synopsis of how the interview went. Just to start, I anticipated this interview probably being between 25 and 30 minutes, but I was actually really surprised that we went past 40 minutes just talking and had a really fun time. I did end up interviewing my mom. I'll leave her name unsaid just for anonymity, but we had a really fun time. I have interviewed her for some other assignments in the past, but I felt like this one was different enough that I could get some new information out of her, and she was such a good sport last time. She really enjoyed it. So yeah, I think it's such a privilege to be able to interview my mom. I do live under the same roof, but we don't talk about things like this every day, and so it's really fun to just pick her brain and hear what she has to say, even just in reflecting on her own life and her own adulthood. So my mom is in her mid-50s, so she is in the adulthood stage. I am under 25, and so I'm in the emerging adult stage. So this is really good to be able to interview someone who is much farther along than I am, because she had me when she was about 30, and I have 2 older sisters and a younger brother. So she definitely was in adulthood pretty young, I'd say, because she got married to my dad. I think she was about 23, and then they had my oldest sister about a year later. So they were parents really fast, and they were also very mature for their age back then, just from what I've heard. Obviously I wasn't there yet, but it was really fun to pick her brain about some of the stuff that she's learned and discovered, and how she's changed in her adulthood since then, really. For the interview, I did ask her all of the universal questions, and I was actually really pleasantly surprised. She had some amazing answers, and she actually talked quite a bit on each one, and went into some things that I wouldn't have expected her to. But in a good way. She talked really in depth about just her upbringing with, my grandparents, and how that influenced her, and socially when she was young. Her parents and her 2 brothers would go to church every Sunday and every Wednesday, and every day in between it was usually school or church gatherings. They did a lot of potlucks. They did a lot of just fun trips as young adults, and so she was very social, and I don't think that's changed. I think in adulthood, my mom has kept a lot of her childhood friends, but she's also grown really wise in who to keep around. What I mean by that is she's learned, although she loves some people, they're not always the best influence, and so she's been really strategic, especially having kids who she's allowing into her life, because she knows it influences her, and it in turn influences us. So that was really good to learn. And then cognitively, I asked her about all the different types of intelligence, so fluid, crystallized, and analytic. And I asked her, I said, of all the 3, which one do you think you might have a little bit more of than the others? And originally she said crystallized, just because over the years and over having 4 kids and being a stay-at-home mom, she's just learned so much throughout all of that. And my dad was a firefighter for his career, and now he's retired, but even learning how to be a support for him from home, she's learned so much. And I told her, I said, I think you have quite a bit of analytic intelligence as well, because you've had to be very strategic and on your feet with having 4 kids. And she laughed at that and agreed with me there. And then also for cognitive, we talked about stressors and coping mechanisms. And she just gave some really good wisdom as far as how she's changed and what coping mechanisms she uses. Because when she was a young adult, she said she would just keep things bottled up and let them swirl in her mind. And it took her time to learn how to get that out of her brain so that she could cope. And now that she's an adult, she's learned how to like identify when she's stressed and what's causing her stress. And she has better ways of coping, like going for a walk or talking to a friend or whatever it is to calm her down so that she can tackle things head on. And that was really good to hear because I feel like as a young adult myself, I definitely lean towards keeping things bottled up and letting things swirl around in my head. And I'm currently in the stage of life where I'm figuring out how to get that out in a healthy way without disclosing too much to people where it's not going to be helpful. Just learning how to talk to the right people that I trust and using that in a beneficial way. And then we talked about biosocial. So I asked her, how her health habits, nutrition, and exercise have changed throughout the years, and if she considers herself strong and considers herself to have vitality. And she said she's learned so much over the years, and she does consider herself very strong, and I would absolutely agree 100%. And then last, we talked about psychosocial, and we talked about Erickson and generativity versus stagnation, but also the big 5 personality traits. And she just said conscientiousness probably stuck out to her more than the others, and that's what I had thought of for her prior to asking her that question. And to end the interview, we just laughed and we said, okay, we're gonna go de-stress and go to Costco, and we had some really good laughs. But she had a really good way to memorize the big 5 personality traits, because canoe and ocean are the ones that I think are often mentioned, but she kind of combined them, and she's like, all I can picture is myself in a canoe on the ocean in the Puget Sound racing back to shore because there was a storm coming. So I just thought that was really funny. But yeah, it was a great interview. I had a blast, and I can't wait to debrief even more on the paper. So look forward to hearing from you guys, and thank you for listening.